there's nothing like cracking that cellophane and pulling that record out. It just smells great.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Non-stop hardcore energy.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Unlike any other.
With your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bod Father.
Man, this stuff rocks.
Hey, this is George Lynch, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
The views and opinions of the guest do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Radio Network, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Radio Network.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, aka the Bod Father, and as always, I'm bringing you guys and gals awesome interviews. I want to thank everybody who's watching and listening to it right now, and plus everyone who comes back and watch the replay. I have on the show with me right now guitar icon George Lynch, who will release his first ever instrumental album entitled Seamless on August 20th via Rat Pak Records. The album features 9 brand new tracks and 3 bonus tracks, and is backed by drummer Jimmy Dionde, I hope I said that correct, and bassist Eric Loisille, and I probably screwed it up as well, on the album. Also check out the first single off George's instrumental album called Death by a Thousand Licks. And George, for me, as long as I've known you and got into your music, it's hard to say first instrumental album, and you've been doing this for 40-some years now. I'm just like, first one? This is insane.
But that's actually kind of a lie.
Okay.
I lie a lot, by the way, I should tell you up front. But I don't tell like harmful lies, you know what I'm saying? Like lies that would hurt anybody. They're more for like entertainment purposes. Mm-hmm. I guess you would call them more like embellishments. Not really like a lie. Like it's like Jesus wouldn't be mad at me, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make you laugh. But I did a record called Orchestral Mayhem, maybe like a dozen years ago. Mm-hmm. But the difference was I didn't write those songs. Just somebody, a label paid me to come in and blow over a whole bunch of classical music tracks that I had nothing to do with. It's just I played guitar over it. So the distinction with Seamless is that it's my first original music instrumental record. And then Sacred Groove, which I did, I think in 92 or something like that, that had some instrumental songs on it. So it was partially instrumental, original instrumental, but not completely. So I just wanted to point out the distinction.
How long have you been wanting to do this? Just a strictly instrumental album, just with your own stuff. How long have you been wanting to do this actually?
Well, it's been something that's sort of been an option, for decades, but I just felt it was always something I had in my back pocket that I would do sometime down the road, but it was always mañana, It was never now, and maybe it would have never been now if I hadn't sort of got a kick in the pants from the label and given this kind of record. If I ever did this kind of record, it would be, this monumental magnum opus undertaking that I really had to gear up for and be at my best and pull in all these resources and make this. Maybe travel all over the world making it with all these different producers and different musicians and world music and metal music and blues music and rock, and everything, and just make this gigantic statement that I'm, whatever I'm supposed to be, So, but that probably never would have happened, right? And that would have just been this kind of pipe dream that never got fulfilled. So the record is kind of a happy accident in that I wrote all these songs, all these beds for actually another record, for a Lynch Mob album, and a proposed Lynch Mob record that never happened. Mm-hmm. And what happened was I wrote all these beds, and initially I want to mention that I wrote it with Jimmy DeAnda, the first run of songs, the first like 3 or 4 or something we worked on together. And then I took it over and kind of went back and wrote everything by myself. But Jimmy and I worked together initially. But anyways, so then I took this body of work and I sent it over to, I can't remember which singer first took it on. I think it was Oni. And he couldn't make heads or tails of it, couldn't really come up with anything. So he kind of passed. He says, no, I'm not hearing this, man. I think we got to start over. And I'm like, so I'm thinking Oni's the problem. So then I sent it to another singer, like maybe Robert Mason, I think it was. And I got the same result. Then I sent it to Andrew Freeman. He had it for like a month or 2 and he was kind of frustrated with it as well. Didn't come up with much. And then lastly, I sent it to Joe Retta, who I've done some work with in the past, and he sings with Trans-Siberian Orchestra. He's a great singer, blues rock, kind of Paul Rogers' style. And he came up with the most stuff, but it still wasn't. He was complaining. He goes, "This is not really. I need more open material. This is not really conducive to like writing, good simple hard rock melodies. I don't know what to do with this." So he was frustrated with it too. And after 4 singers, that all of which I value their opinion, and I thought, well, you know what? They're not the problem. I'm the problem. I wrote the wrong record. So at that point, I was, kind of bummed. I was like, wow, I put all this work into this, and it's really, I think, pretty incredible stuff in a way, but not conducive to, vocalizing. So I just was ready to I did actually kind of shit can it, just put it to bed. And I was thinking about rewriting it, starting all over again. And then some other things happened. I got involved in some other projects and stuff. And then months later, the head of the labels, what about just instrumentalizing it? And I'm like, oh, I hadn't even thought of that. I don't know why. And I go, well, because it wasn't built from the ground up to be that. So I don't think it could be that. And I left it there. And then he kept encouraging me to give it a stab, take a stab at it. And I did. And it actually had good results. And I just kept going. I was like, you know what? Actually, this feels really natural. And I'm just going to be the voice. And I'll have a balance of shred and kind of melodic verses and, hooks on choruses with the guitar and so forth. And, it wasn't all perfect. There are a couple songs there where I think it was like, it really was like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. But I think for the most part, it all lent itself to, me instrumentalizing it.
Yeah.
Ways.
I've got to check this out, man. And Quiver, I love Quiver. That song or the track is pretty awesome. And Sharks with Laser Beams.
just on name title alone,
Yeah,
it's a crappy song. I mean, you gotta like it, right?
I see it. I was like, I've got to check this out. I like all these, and that's just me personally. I'm not saying just because you're on here.
I always
like these
goofy titles, but I can never use them in real bands because, you can't sing that as a chorus. You can't sing, Sharks with Laser Beams as a chorus. I mean, that's a silly name. But for an instrumental, it's fine because you can name instrumentals anything. I'm saying you ideally, I think you'd want the titles to convey the nature of the song, in some ways. But you don't want a clownish name on something that's heavy and majestic and, or something. I don't know. But generally, you can kind of just have fun with it and play with it. And that's what I did.
Oh, yeah. Falling Apart, I like that song or that track. I keep calling them songs, but they're actually tracks. I like Falling Apart because it takes me back to like and I don't mean this. I don't mean this in any disrespect whatsoever because you're a phenomenal guitar player, but it takes me back to like the 80s sound, man. If that makes sense, it's got that groove with it. Like, oh crap! And then you come up with something else. It's like, wow, that was new. And you're right back.
Yes, that's one of my least favorite songs because I felt that it was. I felt that it was really it, and I was intentionally written very much with vocals in mind, as having verses and big hooky choruses and kind of this mid tempo kind of just Dokken-esque kind of formula. That was intentional, and so I still felt it would have been lent itself better to a vocal interpretation than an instrumental interpretation. So I'm not really, I was never really sold with that rendition of that song being instrumentalized, but I'm glad you like it. I mean, the thing is, usually I'm so bad with my judgment that anything that I like is probably going to fail, and anything I hate is probably going to do really well. So you're probably right on that one.
So, okay. So here's a question for you about the song. Are you going to save this maybe in your back pocket and maybe use it down the road? Maybe, possibly add some lyrics to it.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. Actually, I thought about that, for a couple of things. I thought about, well, I wonder if I could ever take these beds meaning, the rhythm parts of the songs without all the guitar stuff on, and, put vocals on them someday or use them as a basis for another song. I'm not sure. I guess I could, since I wrote them. I mean, who am I going to sue? Myself?
Bam.
Then I would win and lose at the same time. That would be weird.
George 1, George 2.
Yeah.
Great.
My lawyer's Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe.
What was it about the track Death by a Thousand Licks that led it to be the first single? Man, I know there's some other great ones on here, in my opinion, but what was it about this one that you said, this is got to be the first one?
Well, it was the last thing I wrote because I actually didn't have enough songs, so I just kind of wrote that last minute, threw it out there. And, it's a 2-part vehicle it's very simple vehicle for just a bunch of crazy noodling. And the whole lot of thought behind it, quite honestly. But I just had fun with it. And I think the reason the label picked that was because there's a lot of, semi-technical guitar playing on there, I guess you'd say. And so it's, from that standpoint, if you're waiting for your 80s legacy hair shredder guitar hero to come out with an instrumental record, you expect some of that, right? So it had a good amount of that. So I guess that's why they picked it. I never really asked them why they picked it, but I'm assuming that's why.
Were you a little nervous releasing this instrumental album right now, since bands can't really tour? They're trying. I mean, it's getting back out there a little bit. And are you wanting to take this out on tour, possibly?
Well, I mean, touring is challenging for everybody right now, of course. But that really wasn't a consideration, because there hasn't been a project I've done, with the exception of the End Machine in a very limited way, where I've done any touring on it. The only touring that I do is with was with Lynch Mob up until I retired the name, and now with Electric Freedom, which is just same band, different name. Of course, the band's always has different members, and we play different songs almost every gig, so it's always evolving and morphing into something. But we have a new name now, obviously, this year. And but another point being is that entity is what I tour with. And I go out and I do these stints where I come on stage with Dokken and play 3 or 4 songs at the end of the night. And I do that as well. But that's it. So, the idea of putting a band together specifically for supporting Seamless and touring it isn't going to happen. What would probably happen, what could happen with the new band, Electric Freedom, is, and I built it this way, is we can put anything into it and take anything out of it we want. Where we're a band like, Lynch Mob or Dokken or whoever, you're somewhat limited because of because of your name and what people expect. So with Lynch Mob, I mean, we're going to do Lynch Mob and maybe a few Dokken songs. That's kind of it. Sacred Groove or any of my other projects, Sweet Lynch, KXM, the End Machine, older stuff, who knows? I can't do that. Playing covers, doing extended improvised jams, writing a new song and performing it live. I mean, that's all the kind of stuff I really enjoy doing. Mm-hmm. And we do that with the new band, so Electric Freedom. We're just, if anything defines, if there's any one thing that defines us, it's the fact that we are constantly changing and evolving. I mean, you go see one show, you're going to see a different show next weekend. You know, we're just adding songs and we're trying new things. And in fact, the last show we did last weekend in Vegas was, I started the show with just a riff. You know, I kind of showed the guys at sound check. I go, let's do something like this when we come out tonight. It wasn't really a song. It was just kind of like 2 parts that I just kind of threw down, and it was cool as hell. We played for a couple of minutes. You know, I love that. So I can do that. You know, I mean, if we want, if once we have enough, you know, as long as we have enough time to rehearse something or take a look at it, add it to the set, we'll try it out. You know, so you know, and I kind of leave it up to the other guys too, because I'm you know, I'm not a dictator. I'm just the guitar player, and I want everybody to be into it. So I kind of throw it out there, and I was like, guys, what do you think of this? And they'll be like, well, or yeah, let's do it. And I'll say, hey, how about, you know, let's sharks with laser beams. You're like, sure, why not? Let's learn it. I mean, we can always learn it and play it once in a while, you know, throw it out there as an encore or as an extra song. It's super fun. I love doing that, having all that freedom. Which is why it's called Electric Freedom.
I love that you have all this music in your library, because it's like you said, you can mix and match anything you want to. So is it hard to come up sometimes with a set list because you want to put so much into it? Maybe.
Yeah, it is. It is. I would say it's hard. It's fun, actually, because it's good to have that problem. You know,
Sure.
We're a very new band. I mean, we probably only had, we auditioned Jason Sutter, the drummer, one day. We had this tremendous 3-hour jam session where we had a whole list of songs we were going to play for the audition that we could have played. We didn't play any of them. From the moment the first note till they shut us down, we were just making up shit and improvising. It was wonderful. It was really I wish we had recorded it. It was really magical. And you know, the other thing too is, you know, people come see a band and they're like, how many times do you want to see the same band?
Yeah.
You know, as much as I love Korn or Judas Priest or, you know, 100 other bands, I mean, ZZ Top, you know, I mean, how many times do I want to see them play the same set? You know, I mean, because there's all these other bands I want to see. So how, you know, maybe see them twice, you know. But with what I think is cool about this band is I don't want to play in that band that keeps playing the same shit over and over again. Read them twice, 3 times, 4 times. You're going to see 2, 3, 4 different shows, and maybe different members. Definitely going to be different songs. Definitely going to be different performances. Maybe a little bit different production value. Yeah, and I love that. So, you know, every one of our performances is like a snowflake. You know, they're all different.
I got a friend who absolutely loves Ozzy, and I love Ozzy too, but he has seen him 25 times, George. And I'm like, hey, that's cool. That's awesome. But I'm like you. I want to see something different every time I come and see a band.
That sounds like a disease. That's not right. I don't know what drives that. That's an interesting thing. That's just sort of curious what that's all about.
I'll get him on here sometime. We'll collab. We'll collab, George, on this one.
Yeah.
Any tracks?
And, you know, we all know people like that, right? They follow bands around. I mean, Deadheads. Well, that was different. That's an experience, you know, a lifestyle, and you know. But yeah, just to go see the same band. I mean, I think the band I've seen the most in my lifetime has probably been, you know, multiple times, has been Korn and ZZ Top.
Mm.
And I love ZZ Top. And it's one of the first concerts I ever saw, and it blew my mind. Tres Hombres tour. But as much as I love him, and I just love the hell out of Billy. I mean, you know, Korn, same thing. I love Korn. I think they're great live, and I love their style and their sound, their songs. But you know, how many times you want to go see the same damn thing?
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to be that band.
I understand completely. So for you, any tracks standing out more to you right now on this instrumental album than any possibly? Do you have one possibly sticks out the most? Maybe.
Well, I'll be brutally honest with you. I don't know what songs are what. I did this record, I wrote the music before COVID and instrumentalized it, I think also before COVID, or maybe early on or something. I can't remember. No, I think it was before COVID. I finished it. So, this is a year and a half, 2 years old, maybe. I can't even remember. But so it's been a second. And so now I'm kind of, I've done other work since then, obviously, and that sort of occupied my mind. And so now I'm doing these interviews, and then people are asking me specific questions about songs. And I'm like, I had a Japanese film crew in here. I think it was last week. Yeah, it was last week. And they did like this whole multi-part thing, for the record for Young Guitar Magazine. It's a big deal in Japan. And I was in the cover and this whole feature and they did the interview and all the gear, and they reviewed the record, and then there's a whole big thing. And then they do a video segment where they want me to explain a couple songs and pick them apart and show how to play them. I took a couple of nights and I tried to do it, and I figured it out before the shooting day, and I couldn't. I absolutely couldn't. I didn't know what songs were what. You're asking me about a song. I would do that with interviews. I've been doing that with interviews, and people are like, unless I've got the songs up on the list right there and I can listen to them to refresh my memory, I couldn't tell you what they are. And that's just because of the way I write. I write just kind of spur of the moment. These things aren't like, I think hard about them and there's this huge process where we write. It's just, I'm just coming up with stuff off the top of my head in that actual moment in time. I record it, and then I probably never play it again. Are we going to? 2 years later, somebody goes, "Well, how did you do that?" I go, "I have no idea, no idea." And I used to apologize for that, but now it's just, you know what? That's who I am.
Yeah,
that's what. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I understand.
I feel guilty about it, but I feel like I'm being irresponsible, but I literally sat down with these songs for a couple, like I said, for hours and tried, and I'm just like, I can't make any head. I have no idea how I played that. And there's 5 freaking guitars layered on here. I don't know what any of them are doing.
So what about, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just done. I'm done apologizing, I guess.
What about Electric Freedom? Are you guys working on anything right now to put out soon, maybe, or what's going on?
I think that's a record we need to do. Yeah. No, we're brand new. As I said, we've got probably, just a handful of rehearsals under our belt and a handful of shows. We haven't done a whole lot. So we're actually considering adding because we're a power trio. It's Michael Devon, bass player from, I've played with many times in the past, and he's been in Lynch Mob and other projects we've worked on together. And Michael's best known for being in Whitesnake. That's the biggest band he's involved in. And, but he's a great singer, and he's, kind of a student of the, late 60s and the 70s rock, that we all love and I grew up with, he grew up with. So, and that's his style, and Paul Rogers kind of, hard rock, blues bass singer. And Jason Sutter, has played a lot of bands. Currently he's plays with Cher, interestingly. But you got to be, you can't be a slouch and play with these A-listers. They only have the best players in the world. So before that, he was in Foreigner, and I can't remember who else. He's played with a lot of people, but I don't have the list on top of my head. But the Monster Cats, and we get along great, and it's really fun doing the 3-piece. It really keeps it nice and simple. There's no egos there, or out of control egos. It's just really fun and relaxed, and they're hard workers. We all work hard, and it's really simple and easy. I love it. And we're just gonna, it's almost like we're gonna expand somewhere. We don't know what we're gonna do. We tried, like I said, we thought about having a singer, a fourth guy. It didn't work out, but we're open to change. I mean, we're thinking about, we're getting some production made for the live shows. Also, we're considering the idea of having a percussionist tour with us, and add elements, maybe have people come out at different cities and different shows to just kind of contribute, come on stage and contribute different things.
Oh, nice.
You know, yeah, I just want to keep mixing it up and surprise people and keep ourselves entertained so that it's enjoyable and not like, you know, just a drug. We go nuts and we add all this other stuff and take off and jam and get funky. And, you know, we think we're Sly Stone and we do all this other goofy shit. It's super fun.
So what's coming down the pipe possibly for KXM maybe in the future?
Well, we had planned on starting up the recording or pre-production or recording, not really. We actually were going to do pre-production, which we'd never done on a record before because of COVID. So I'd actually gone to Nashville where Ray lives, and I got with him in his studio and his engineer, and we came up with 3 songs. And that was a while ago. And they kind of never went anywhere. They were good, but it was just like, well, but that's not KXM, because that's not what KXM is. That's not what defines us. What defines us is we get together in a room, the 3 of us, and we just see what happens. And we record that for 12 days. We record 12 songs, song a day, write a song every day, record it every day. And that's it. And then we're done at the end of 12 days. That's the way we've done all 3 records. And that's the way we should do the 4th one. So when we tried to do it the way we did it, it was weird because, you know, the songs, the ideas were cool, but they weren't, but Doug wasn't there. So that's really not KXM, you know, and Doug is very invaluable in coming up with ideas and parts and stuff. I mean, and so we're, you know, we thought now that COVID was starting to come, you know, diminish a lot and maybe things were going back to semi-normal, we could get back in the studio this fall. But now that things are ramping up again with the virus, I think that may be off the table for right now because, you know, we're all older cats, you know, and we can't risk that, you know. I mean, even going out and touring is stressful, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we take all the precautions that we can. We're all vaccinated, but you know, can't wear a mask on stage, and which we don't really need to. But then you're asking people to show up and stand shoulder to shoulder, mask. Well, you're not asking them to be maskless, but you know they're going to be maskless.
Sure. You
know, I mean, so do I want to be responsible for that? You know. And then we were, as I said, we played the Vegas show, and it was great. And I got done, and Dokken went on after we played, and then I went on stage with Dokken, and it was awesome, and everybody loved it. It was a kumbaya moment and everything. And then we go backstage, and a bunch of people we know, you know, came backstage, and I was like, we weren't supposed to be allowing that. And all of a sudden, and these are friends, you know, people from bands, and I played with in the past and stuff. And, you know, I can't be shitty to them, but at the same time, I don't know if they're vaccinated. They don't have masks on, and it's just like we're in this little room, and they're sitting there for half an hour talking loud, and it's just like, oh, you know, very stressful, very stressful. I got a call yesterday from my agent to wanted to know if I would do an emergency couple gigs this weekend and fly to the East Coast to sub for a band that 2 of the members just came down with COVID. Mm-hmm. They had to cancel. They were pretty big shows, and so I couldn't do it. But you know, I think it's probably going to shut back down. So as far as KXM, we just keep pushing it back and pushing it back. So I don't know. You know, we've done 3 records. We made a statement. I think maybe that's all we need to do.
Yeah, these are phenomenal albums. That's why I asked, because I'm a big fan of you guys, obviously. Yeah. And I like it because you keep it, and I mean this in the most sincere way, the old school way. I mean, with a new flavor, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's a very unique sound that we get, you know, just from the chemistry. It's crazy. I mean, the first record I thought, oh, maybe it's just a fluke. Second record is like, it sounded the same. It was like, whoa, this is a thing that happens when we get together. It's so strange. I write different, you know. You know, it's just a beautiful thing. I mean, you know, look at the elements there. I mean,
oh yeah,
Dougie and Ray, holy shit. So it's a phenomenal experience making those records and playing with those guys. I love it.
And the cool part that I see is like you guys are happy. That's the thing. I see you guys smiling during it.
I mean, there's some work involved, believe me, and we do get stressed at times, but we try to keep it light. I mean, we're always joking around. you know, and that's the clock. And you're like, it's kind of like walking a tightrope. I mean, you know, you got to come up with this stuff, you know, and you got to be able to relax to be able to, for the ideas to flow. If you're uptight, I mean, the ideas aren't going to flow and you're not going to play well. You're not going to think well. So it's important to, you know, keep it light and keep your sense of humor and joke around, take breaks. But yeah, when it comes down to, you know, the composing and the arrangements, when we're in the room and we got our headphones on, we're all in one room, it does get intense and some frustrating at times. And sometimes you, hey, it's not working. We got to try a different thing and try to go a different way. And, you know, people get a little uptight sometimes and frustrated. So but it's part of the process. It's a healthy thing. And I would love to do another one, but you know, if it's in the cards, and then, you know, we got to wait for things to kind of get a little more sane down on the ground here before we, you know, get together in a room and with other people and do a record in the studio. You know, I'm doing everything. I'm doing all my recording in my studio remotely for the last year and a half, and that works just fine.
George, how can folks stay in touch with you? Buy this new album that's coming out here August 20th via Rat Pak Records. How can they do that, sir?
You don't have to call me sir. You can call me shithead like everybody else. But well, I have this thing called a website. It's this new thing on the internet, and I had this company in Hollywood. I paid them like $500, and what they do is they name your website.
Oh wow!
And so $500, they came up with this really cool name that I never thought of. It's called GeorgeLynch.com.
Very, very nice.
I know I'm a smart ass.
No, it's fine. Before I let you go, would you care to do a promo for my show?
No, you're mad now. You're mad at me now.
No, fine. I'm fine.
Smart ass. I'm sorry. I gotta stop doing that. I know. People tell me I'm an ass. Whatever.
All right.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Hey, this is George Lynch, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour Podcast. Please go out and check out our Facebook page. It has our podcast link and our YouTube link, and you definitely want to subscribe to our YouTube page because we got a lot of stuff coming up. Get out and check out George Lynch. Pick up his new instrumental album called Seamless. It's coming out August 20th via Rat Pak Records. And if you want to call him a shithead, go ahead and call him a shithead. But anyway, he's a good guy.
Okay. I won't hear it, so it won't matter.
Thanks, everybody. And George, thank you as always for coming on the podcast, man. I appreciate it.
Of course, Bob. All right. You take care.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.